2021 ain't even over yet, and already the 2022 season of the Eurovision Song Contest is really starting to take shape. We've got artists confirmed from the Netherlands, Belgium and Georgia. Spain have revealed their answer to San Remo, Czechia have revealed their answer to Vivo Discover, and Estonia have revealed the answer to the question, it's how long? On the opposite end of the spectrum, Bulgaria seems to be desperate to get things out of the way as quickly as possible, with poor Albania not getting their traditional spot as first out the gate. But amongst all of this chaos, a few other countries have revealed plans, including my home country, the United Kingdom. Our next entry will be selected in yet another partnership between BBC Studios and a dedicated music management company. This time, Tap Music. Old Blighty has struggled to make a dent in the scoreboard in recent years, and last year, Embers became the first song in Eurovision history to score 0 points under the new scoring system. But despite all this, I'm cautiously optimistic that this could finally be our year, and that we have a team that could achieve a result to be proud of. Now, one of the main issues that UK fans often point out when it comes to our Eurovision woes is that the BBC just doesn't seem all that committed to the contest. When You Decide was still a thing, it seemed remarkably small in scale, and they often just threw it out on BBC 2 or even BBC 4 during a random weekday. But can you really blame them? Yes! But regardless of how badly the UK do every year, millions still tune in to watch the final, so as far as management are concerned, the team have done their job. Even BMG, who the BBC teamed up with last year, just seemed too big of a company to really be affected by something as trivial as a Eurovision result, so they didn't have much incentive either. But now, not only are there way more people with their eyes on the contest after Måneskin's success, but Tap is a relatively small group, and its co-founder Ben Mawson seems to be a well-respected figure in the music industry who is willing to put his reputation on the line. His partner also happens to be one of the hosts of the 2015 contest, and based on what I've seen in interviews, he seems to have a genuine interest in the contest and in getting the UK back to where it should be. Even more excitingly, headlining the announcement of the partnership were comments by some of Tap's biggest talent, including Elton John and Dua Lipa. Now, besides some of the obvious showboating to try and shake off some of Eurovision's maligned public image in the UK, their involvement could be really interesting, especially if Elton John has any sort of say. That guy has a proper good eye for upcoming talent, having mentored acts like Panau and Rina Soriyama. I'm not expecting him to take an active role on the same level Andrew Lloyd Webber did in 2009, but his involvement is exciting, and regardless, Tap are an experienced management team, and they are likely to give the UK artists the support that just wasn't really possible in the past. 2018 act Suri chatted with Vice several times over the course of her Eurovision journey about some of the barriers she faced. You see, because the BBC is a public broadcaster, they're not really allowed to endorse products, even if that product is an artist they've chosen to represent the country on the show that they broadcast. On top of that, association with the BBC means acts have to remain neutral on certain positions, and its nature as a publicly funded corporation restricts the amount they are allowed to pay their acts, to the point that Suri was told to find other ways of income just to survive, even during the busy promotional period before the contest, where she would be working constantly with the Eurovision team. In 2020, the BBC moved Eurovision production to their commercial arm, BBC Studios, and collaborated with a third-party record label. At the time, I was also quite optimistic, and I wondered if this could allow the team more funding and more freedom. But with the 2020 contest cancelled and the 2021 results being less than stellar, it's hard to tell what, if any, difference was made. What's encouraging this time, however, is that Ben and his team have made a commitment to support the chosen act, not just during the contest, but vitally in their following career. Of course, this could just be hot air, And whether it is managerial, financial, emotional, or back support is yet to be seen. Why did I write that? Either way, if artists aren't supported properly and aren't offered a good degree of creative control, the BBC will just keep struggling to attract acts. Creative control is so important in Eurovision, not just for putting the acts at ease, but in producing a more authentic performance. In the last 5 contests, 3 of the winners were written or co-written by the artist that performed them. 1 was written by the performer's sister, who knew him really well, and the other was heavily reworked by the artist. Increasingly, the way to best stand out at Eurovision is to bring your authentic self, and having a strong connection between song and artist really helps that be achieved. But this isn't just the case in Eurovision. The next generation of musical artists are like Måneskin, in that not only do they write and perform their own music, they take an active role in moulding their persona, controlling creative aspects like music videos or live performances. The UK is full of artists like this, covering a wide range of genres. If you compare the UK's string of generic pop songs to Italy's selection of everything from jazz and opera to rap and rock, it's so obvious that the UK needs new voices involved and could really be doing more to represent the depth of its industry and a wealth of creative musicians that could make the most of a platform like Eurovision. Tap Management already have acts like Zola Courtney, Willow Kane, Grace Carter and Ratboy in their arsenal, but they seem willing to look further afield for this, and the UK is full of so many fantastic acts that could fit the bill. And now, a self-gratuitous list of British artists that I like. Alfie Templeman, Antaros, Bree Runray, Celeste, Corinne Bailey Ray, Easy Life, FKA Twigs, Frank Moody, Fife, Georgia, Holly Humberstone, Hope Taller, Jack Garrett, Jessie Ware, Joseph, Jones, Jungle, Kazali, Koji Radical, Lava LaRue, Little Sims, Mahalia, Matt Maltese, Marwan Rizwan, Larina Palo, Novo Amor, Olivia Dean, Rachel Chinariri, Raisa, Rina Soyama, Roses Gabor, Sandara Karma, Twist, Rukovi, and Wolf Alice. I'd also really love to see Emanike, but he was actually interviewed by BBC Newsbeat when this announcement was made, and he said he probably wouldn't want to perform for Eurovision. But he's also a very good songwriter and producer. You know what? UK's got a lot of great producers. Look at SG Lewis, Joe Turner, to name a couple. Even if they get an unknown performer, give the song to a really good producer, see what happens. Wait, London has a fantastic contemporary jazz scene as well. Why not get Sons of Kemet or Moses Boyd involved? Oh, and it's just come through that the UK have already selected their act, so that whole segment was even more pointless. Great. Just call it a list for next year, is fine. I want to end off this list with a half-remembered quote from one of my uni lecturers. If a trend appears in a Hollywood trailer, that trend is dead. The retro revival craze was all over Eurovision this year, but by the time it had reached its peak in 2020, thanks to artists like Dua Lipa and
The Weeknd,
it had already been running in the indie and underground scenes for about a decade and had already reared its face slightly in Eurovision's past. Italy this year got so lucky because Måneskin weren't just riding a rock wave to victory, they were part of the reason that wave grew as big as it did. Ben made it clear through interviews that the focus on the selection this year was likely to be on upcoming artists, and the UK has thousands of them out there doing their own thing. Many of them will be unwilling to do Eurovision because of the perception the UK has about it, and a worry of being trapped in a box only to be let out every May. The country's superiority complex and our media's treatment of many things queer or European likely isn't changing anytime soon, but the BBC's own attitude to the contest can, and if the BBC and TAP play the cards right and find a hidden gem willing to take a risk, Act in 6 months' time could be making waves of their own. Or they could just do what BMG did and bring a poor imitation of Radio Filler from 5 years ago. Who's to say?
What is it with
the UK
blaming other people for her being shit?